Hey everybody, welcome back to 13 Rings, an NFC East podcast, aka known as Earl's Pod tonight, because we are doing a mock draft of the Dallas Cowboys draft this upcoming April. And Earl, I know he's been chomping at the bit. Earl, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Snug as a bug in the rug. I'm ready to get this mock draft started.
Absolutely, man.
And
Absolutely. And me, Mal, Maurice will be commenting on your first 3 round picks, and then you got it the rest of the way. But we are excited to hear what you got to say, bud.
awesome. I'm excited to hear y'all top three picks for the Cowboys as well. It'll definitely be a lot of fun, and I'm going to make sure it's fair and balanced. Alrighty.
Hang
Before we
on,
get,
hang on. Fair and balanced. Are we on Fox News?
see, I ain't talk about the four letter network, sir.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had to. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead. I'll stop
It's,
interrupting.
it's all good. It's good. You're good. Alrighty. With the draft picks that I have for this mock draft for the Cowboys, I realized that I'm coming to the terms that Dallas really, they really don't utilize free agency as a point of bolstering their team, but to ridicule them. Like they wouldn't even want to add an extra million to re-sign Jonathan Hankins, and he ended up signing with the Seahawks. Now, for me, he helped the defense in yardage as well as making sure to stop the run. You don't have that now. Now you have Mozzie Smith having shoulder surgery, and he's out for 4 to 6 months. So I'm to the point now we have nobody that can plug the middle of the defense is parted like the Red Sea. And not only that, I'm seeing that Stephen Jones is running his team, not Jerry Jones. All I know is Jerry Jones is just running his mouth. So, what I got from this, in Stephen Jones' words, he's relying on the young guys. So, veterans, you're hogging their spotlight. So, that means we're running this team with less and trying to win more with less. And to that, that brings me to my selections for the mock draft because I basically picked these players to be NFL ready equipped as soon as they get drafted by the Cowboys. Dallas is trying to build their team and how Will McClay picked these guys, drafting players to build a Super Bowl team within the draft. It's crazy. They're trying to run that right now. A lot of guys that was redshirted are now have their shining moment to see what they can do. So that brings me to my first draft pick, number 24. There's a lot of gaps that need to be filled on the offensive line. Tyron Smith is with the Jets. The only people I know that they could utilize is Tyler Smith, kick him out the left tackle, and then move TJ Bass to left guard and utilize Brock Hoffman as the center. You have all pro Zach Martin, and then you have Terrence Steele coming off an ACL injury after one season. So with the 24th pick, the Dallas Cowboys select Jordan Morgan, offensive tackle from Arizona. He ranges at 6'5, 311 pounds. He's a very agile offensive tackle. He mainly played on the left side. I got a chance to see what he was able to do this past season, and he recorded into the top 50 of offensive linemen this past college football season. Some of his strengths, he's explosive. He has high energy. He's a high energy athlete at the snap, moving, recalibrating, being at ease, being able to utilize his hand movements, and he can overpower edge setters as well as just having good hip flexor to being able to move around to protect the quarterback's blind side as well as kicking out for run blocking. His weakness, he has like he lacks elite arms, and sometimes it's power, sometimes he kind of gets off balance, but that's things that the coaches can work with him on. And I believe he will be a solid left tackle for us in replacement for Tyron Smith in the future, while still being able to keep Tyler Smith in the left guard spot. But if they decide to kick Tyler Smith out to left tackle, then you can move Jordan Morgan to the inside, or you can interchange Terrence Steele, kick him to left guard, and then move Jordan Morgan to right tackle. So he's a very multi-versatile lineman that I think would be solid for Dallas at the number 24th pick. What do you guys think?
So I'll go first on this one. That's not who I had. I did have an offensive lineman, but I went with somebody with a little bit more arm length and just a bigger build all around, and I went with Maurice Mims, who's a right tackle out of Alabama. Now,
You
I
mean
know that you
Georgia?
guys already have a right tackle, but I feel like he's the type of versatile lineman that you can switch into that left tackle role and groom him into that role as you know during the offseason. But that's who I have.
Wait,
What do you
which
guys think?
which which Mims you're talking about? You're talking about the one at Georgia?
I oh you're right. Sorry, Georgia. Yeah, Georgia. Armarius Mims. Yep.
Yeah, he was another guy that I had on my list. Like when I was going through doing the different mock drafts, I ended up doing like 30 to 35 of them. And each time Jordan Morgan would come up, sometimes Jackson Power Johnson and Graham Barton from Duke that I told you guys about, where he's a versatile player in the inside. Now I'm thinking if they kick Tyler Smith out the left tackle and move Barton in the inside, he could probably be the premier center. Because I mean, he's got a really nice frame at 6'5", 313. That's pretty solid for a center or a guard.
Yeah, I was going to mention. Yeah, I was going offensive line as well, and the guy you mentioned, Powers Johnson, from Oregon. I actually liked him a lot. Looking at his video, it actually reminds me a little bit of Jason Kelsey. He's a
Yeah,
center. He's a center, smaller center, but he's really agile, mobile. He can also play guard. I think those are the two needs for you right now on your offensive line is center and guard, left guard. And I think I really like Jackson Power Johnson because he's versatile. If you guys are going to go back to running the football, this guy can really make a difference in your run game.
yeah, I was definitely looking for someone that can help assist with that because going into last season, Dak Prescott really didn't have a run game. Like his running backs were pretty much hurt guys, and Tony Pollard was coming back from an injury, and they had Rico Dowdle that really didn't play much in the postseason nor through the regular season. So I'm just looking in, and that'll align to the other draft picks I have coming up. But being able to shore up that line is going to be key for Dallas going into this season. Wow, what do you think?
Yeah, so I'm actually the only one who didn't go offensive line first round for you guys.
Ooh.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah,
Look at
word?
you.
What you got?
so I actually did a defensive need that I think you guys are gonna, and I think he's the best player that, in my mind, because this player fell to me, which I was shocked because I expect him to go a little earlier. Um, but I have the Cowboys addressing corner, and I
Oh.
have
Okay.
them selecting Terry and Arnold from Alabama.
Aren't you guys set on
Ooh,
corner though with Diggs and
Well, Diggs is coming
Pro-
back, but Gilmore, is he coming back, Earl?
I don't think he's coming back from what Stephen Jones was talking about because we just re-signed Jordan Lewis to a one-year deal, and Gilmore is meeting with Carolina, where Carolina is pushing to bring him back home.
Okay, so he's probably not coming back. Okay, but you
Yeah.
still have Diggs and Bland, right? So like,
That is true, but I would not rush Trayvon Diggs back, especially after an ACL tear. Even though
yeah.
it happened at the beginning of the season,
I mean,
he still.
he should be ready.
But Lucas,
Yeah.
you gotta understand when you tear a ligament,
Dude,
that takes time.
I've torn my
No, that
ACL.
no, that's what I'm saying. But coming out running with that, you got to take your time with it. Now, I wouldn't want to rush him back just yet. And corner is not a bad selection, Mal. I actually had us looking in Kool-Aid McKinstry.
I was thinking
Yeah.
about him for you guys too, but like I said, I was just like, I don't think they need a corner quite yet. Actually, there's another team in this division that I'm looking for Kool-Aid. So I'm just
Interesting.
yeah. But anyway, my point is I just first round pick on a corner when you already have two All Pro corners seems a bit it feels like it's not a super need.
Like, I would think that too, but with how many guys that left Dallas for free agency and then guys that really haven't performed, but you have undrafted guys that did perform, I think you could have changed them into the line and still went to get some toys. And I really think with that pick, they're looking at it as, yo, there's a lot of linemen in this draft. We might be able to hit on one of these guys. They could be a stud. So I heard that they want to get the line to be larger. So why not take a chance, get one of these guys who is larger that can fit the mold that you're envisioning? So in that, Jordan Morgan was my selection for 24, but corner would have been a strong second, even a wide receiver. I actually had us also getting Keon Coleman with the 24th pick, but lineman was more of a need.
All
Fair.
right, Earl, let's go to your second round Cowboys second round pick with the 56th pick. Who are the Cowboys selecting?
With the number 56 pick, the Dallas Cowboys select Peyton Wilson, linebacker from NC State.
Okay,
I have red flags with this,
interesting.
and I had interchangeable guys from it. I looked at Junior Colson. He could play different linebacker spots, but I needed a guy who was more elusive, almost like a missile.
Mm-hmm.
And Peyton Wilson in his 40, he ran a 4.39, and that was pretty fast. He's 6'3", 233. This past season at NC State, he had 138 tackles, 17 and a half tackles for loss, as well as 6 sacks, as well as an interception for a touchdown. He has an elite explosiveness. He has long speed. He's rangy. He can go sideline to sideline. His weakness, though, injury history. Now, I could have seen him drop to the third, but knowing how Dallas moves, Dallas has a really solid medical team in Texas. And I think with him, they can definitely mine him, making sure he's on the right track. I know that in his high school, during his time in high school, he tore both his ACLs. And then last in 2021, he has shoulder surgery. So he has some injury history warning, but he's a tremendous football player. And I think with having LVE retire, bringing him in, it might be another LVE situation. But from what I hear from this guy, he plays every play like it's his last. And I really like that about a football player because when you're going out there making every play as if it's your last, that means you're giving it your all and you're leaving everything out there on the field. And that's why I have Peyton Wilson as the number 56 pick. What do you guys think?
Maurice, you go this time around.
Well, we're thinking alike because I think the two needs after offensive line, um, interior offensive line for the Cowboys would be either linebacker or running back. Because as of right now, Rico Dowdle is your number one running back, and you can't have Rico Dowdle your number one.
He's not even Luigi. He's not even Mario.
He's told.
I wouldn't even call him Toad. I call him Waluigi.
Oh no.
Oh no. Yeah. So those are your two needs, and you have to put some importance on running back. With the second round pick, I think you guys can go running back. And with that pick, I have you taking, and a lot of mock drafts have you guys taking Jonathan Brooks. That's the first running back off the board in the second round.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Maurice, because with his surgery, where he injured his leg, the Dallas Cowboys medical team did the surgery. So they've been monitoring him. They were at the pro day for Texas. They were at the pro day at Michigan. They were at the pro day at Notre Dame. And Jonathan Brooks is the top running back that Dallas is looking into, especially with his medical history and so on. Like they got this on 10 on lock with that. And I could actually see them. I could actually see them going Jonathan Brooks, but the running back that I think would be better and not have a lot of injury, I would go Trey Benson from Florida State.
Okay. All right. They're both 6 foot. They're both about 215. I can see that. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ties there with Brooks. I know Jerry Jones. He loves his Texas and Sooner guys. So
He also
uh,
loves his hurt guys.
yeah, that's true too. So those were the two positions I think you have need, and that was pretty much spoiled my third round pick because you need a linebacker.
Yeah,
You
he
need a
spoiled
run.
my third round pick too.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, you need
I'm
a linebacker and a
sorry.
running back. I think you have to prioritize a running back. If you're gonna go running back, you might as well get the best one or the best pick at that position, the first pick at that position. So I have you guys taking Jonathan Brooks with the second round pick.
I
Mal, how
respect
about
it.
you chime in next?
Yeah, so with the second round pick, this is where I started to address the offensive line for the Cowboys.
Okay.
So with the second round pick, I took Patrick Paul, an offensive tackle from Houston.
Yeah, I love Patrick Paul.
Yeah, left tackle, and I think he would be a good replacement for Tyron Smith. And you guys, like we've been discussing, you need offensive line help, especially on the tackle spots. So I had him who fell to me, and I picked him for you guys.
Okay, that's not a bad pick as well. I say like these lineman guys are large.
Yeah, he's a
They're
big guy.
large. They're an unmovable force. And I think Dallas needs that to definitely reassure their line. Like they really need to re they need to revamp their line to especially go to war in the trenches. And with Patrick Paul, I think he will be a worthy guy, but I also know that within his size is also the movement in his legs. Like I could see him maybe around the third round in case he drops, because it's a lot of offensive guys, especially linemen, that is in this draft that anybody can grab him. And he's definitely one of the top five linemen that I could see Dallas getting if another player is taken off the board. So I like that pick, Mal.
All right, so I actually veered away from everybody here because I didn't see a lot of like elite linebackers in this round, but you know what I did see? A lot of good wide receivers. And let's face it,
Give me one. What you got?
I got Roman Wilson.
Mm,
Well, you're not digging it?
I could dig it. I'm gonna explain my wide receiver room because
Because
with
like
these
right now,
draft,
all you guys have is CD Lamb,
we
and I
have
figured like you get Dak
Brandon Cooks is still
another
under
wide receiver.
contract. We
Huh?
got we got Brandon Cooks still under contract.
Okay.
We got him for one more year, and then we
Yeah,
have
but
Jalen Tolbert. We have Cavante Turpin. But I had a feeling that they would probably get a receiver as an undrafted free agent. But with you mentioning wide receiver, I do have one guy that I could see them getting if it was the second round.
Mm-hmm. It's not Roman Wilson.
Mm-mm.
Okay,
Nope.
who is it?
If Keon Coleman was still on the board, he probably wouldn't be. But this wide receiver is from South Carolina, Xavier Leggett. He's 6'1", 221. He has blazing speed. He's like a combination of Debo Samuel and Des Bryant.
I like Xavier Leggett.
Me too. Me too. And if Dallas is looking to get a guy that could complement CeeDee Lamb, I could see him. I could see Keon Coleman. I could see a Donnie Mitchell, but I think he's going to be gone in the first round. And the Xavier Worthy, he's a speed guy, but I think people are going to gravitate towards his speed, where he'll be off the board probably before the second round. Second round.
So
So
let me just ask you this: would you be mad if they chose Roman Wilson with the 56th pick?
I wouldn't be mad with it.
Okay.
Like I like Wilson's game, but I'm looking at other guys that can looking for guys that could complement CD Lamb, but also be able to work within the system that McCarthy has for the offense. And being able to get a guy that can stretch the field, I need a I need a burner. Because I
Yeah,
know
and
what
Wilson's
CD
more of a slot guy. Okay, fair
right.
enough.
And I need someone that can stretch the field as well as go for the jump ball. And I think that's what's missing in Dallas. Because you have CD Lamb, but you don't got that other guy on the other side that can do it.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so Earl in the third round with the 86th pick, who are the Dallas Cowboys selecting?
All right, I'm gonna be double dipping in this pick. I have another linebacker coming off the board to the Cowboys.
I wonder if we have the same linebacker.
I have Cedric Gray from
Nope.
North Carolina. I've been following this guy for the last 3 years at North Carolina. And during that time, through the 3 seasons, he has finished with 340 tackles, 28 tackles for losses, 8 sacks, 5 interceptions, 12 pass breakups, 5 forced fumbles, and 5 fumble recoveries. It seems like every year his stat line grew, and just being able to see him as a bona fide tackler, that's one thing that I gravitated to because I know that with Dallas, we really didn't have linebackers that could like seed hole, hit the hole, make them pay, pause, and initiate and lock down the play. I really think with Dallas being able to bring in Cedric Gray as a linebacker that can be with Eric Kendricks, because I believe Dallas is going to go with a 4-3, especially with Mike Zimmer's defense. And it could definitely be something rewarding with the double A gaps that Zimmer likes to scheme. Now, the only thing is, depending if Mike is going to be full defensive end while playing some packages at linebacker, that could change. But being able to utilize the instincts of Micah and utilizing Cedric Gray and even plugging in Patrick Wilson as well, Peyton Wilson, that's going to be a nice combo. And then Demarion Overshown is coming back from ACL. When he gets back fully healthy, you have interchangeable linebackers to fit the package that Mike Zimmer wants to do on the defensive side. And I want them to shore up the linebacker room because the linebacker room is empty, cobwebs, dust. I need guys in there to revamp the linebacker room. That's why Cedric Gray, I think, is someone that will be solid for Dallas, as well as a worthy adversary with Damone Clark as well. You got interchangeable linebackers that could really help this team. And being able to go sideline to sideline, that's something I need Dallas to do to really help out that front four in the trenches.
All right, Mal, how about you chime in
Yeah,
first?
I'll go first. So, with the third round, 87th pick, I have Dallas addressing running back. Earl
Okay,
kind of spoiled it for me before.
my
I
bad.
have them. No, it's all right. I have them selecting Trey Benson from Florida State. Um, I think that just having Deuce Vaughn in that room, I don't know if they're planning on adding another veteran during free agency. I'm not sure, but Benson is a very reliable 3 down back, and I think he'll be good in the league. He's got good patience, good vision, and he's got great speed. I think he had the third fastest 40-yard dash amongst the running back prospects at the combine. So I think he'll definitely give Dallas that little added juice in the backfield that they may need on offense.
I agree with that. I like Benson's size as well, being like
Yep.
around 6'1", close to 230. He's a monster. And with him having the speed, running close to a 4.3 at the combine, that's contagious. Like
Yeah,
that's
he has the
something
potential to be a game changer for sure.
exactly. And that's one thing that Dallas really needs to do where you need to get that big back. But if you have that big back that can get the dirty yards and as well as take it to the house, I'm cool with that. I actually also had Dallas looking into Braylon Allen from Wisconsin. He's a big back where you can do a lightning and thunder combination. Well, actually, oh, I can't wait to get to my next two picks because that's going to tie into the idea that I have for the running game. But I do like Trey Benson as that third round pick.
All right, man. Look, me and you are on the same page about linebacker, just not the right one, but I think you're going to be okay with who I chose instead.
What you
I
got?
went with Jeremiah Trotter Jr., which I know hurts
Yes,
Maurice.
no, it's all good. Like, I actually had him as well. It was just when I was doing the mock draft, I could only pick. It was so many like solid picks at that time when I did select Cedric Gray. There was actually one mock draft I had where I had Cedric Gray, Edgerrin Cooper back to back. I was like, they fell to me. So like I love linebacker and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. He's definitely like carrying on the legacy that his dad Jeremiah Trotter had, and he's a dynamic back. His only thing is he's a bit undersized, but that's okay with the scheme that you have for him. That he can be that missile to get to the quarterback and be able to be in that mindset of see hole, hit the hole, make him pay. Pause. Maurice, what do you think?
Well, it was linebacker for me too. I didn't have Jeremiah Trotter. Pretty much everything Earl said. I had Cedric Gray as well. He's a bigger linebacker. The Cowboys have never really had a history of small linebackers. That's
Ac-
more like
Actually, they did, but it was long ago. It was during the time of Dat Win and Dexter Coakley. They ranged around 5'9", 5'8".
well, I'm not a fan of it, and that's kind of like what the Eagles have. We have small linebackers. I don't like
That's
it.
fair.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
fair.
like it. Yeah, you get run over too much.
Yep.
Um,
Steamrolled.
yeah. Cedric Gray is almost 6'2", 235. He tackles. He's not the fastest linebacker, but I think he ran a 4.6.
Yeah, he ran
But
a 4.64.
yeah, so he's a good tackler, and that's something I prioritize at the linebacker position. You gotta tackle. This guy can tackle. When you have a Michael Parsons on your team, all you have to do is be a sure tackler, be in your spot, and you have a dynamic player that can take up for everything else. So I have Cedric Gray going linebacker going to the Cowboys with the third round pick.
I appreciate it.
With that, we're going to go to our first compensatory pick in any of these mock drafts. And Earl, that is, I believe, your fourth round pick, the 174th pick. Who are the Cowboys taking with that?
I think that's the fifth round pick.
Oh,
We
is
don't
it a
have our
fifth
fourth.
round?
Our fourth
Okay.
round pick is Trey Lance.
Okay, that's right. That's right. So that's the fifth round pick. My bad. My bad. But continue.
Alrighty, with the 174th pick, I I know with the other two picks from the second and third, I went linebacker. I'm gonna lean towards the running backs now. And this guy from the Fighting Irish, Audric Estime, he's my 174th pick for the Dallas Cowboys. I like his size. I like his ability. Being able to hurdle guys at the size that he has is it's insane. Like he's around maybe 6'1", 6'2", 200, 30 plus pounds. He can move. He didn't run well in the 40, but being able to see him with his power is something that was really lacking from Zeke during that time. And I really think adding him there, being able to be an interchangeable back, would actually be key for the Cowboys. And I think Estime fits that, especially with me seeing the Cowboys at Notre Dame's Pro Day and looking at their prospects. So I definitely know they're looking at Estime, they're looking at their linebacker and Joe Alt. What do you guys think?
Well, we all know how I feel about SD. I
I
love
sure
him.
do.
And I wish him
Yep,
nothing but success, but if you guys draft him, I can't root for him to win, so. But I'll still love
that's
him.
fine. I respect it. Lucas, Maurice,
Yeah,
what do y'all
look, I
think?
think it's a solid pick. I think it's a solid pick. I didn't really dive too much deep for you guys past this point. So, yeah, solid pick.
Okay, cool.
So let me ask you this, Earl. After linebacker, you spent two top picks on linebacker, and your first round pick was O line. What is your position of need after that? Like, what is your main focus after interior lineman and linebacker?
Actually, it was defensive end. At the time when I was making these picks, I was trying to go. I had different guys that I wanted during that time, and from it, they got snagged off the board. Like I was looking at edge rusher Brennan Jackson from Washington State. This guy's he's got the body frame of a Nick Bosa, and he goes after it. Like he's really good at pass rushing, but also being able to set the edge and stopping the run. And I was looking into that because I definitely know we needed assurance of it, but I also know that we addressed it in last year's draft, where we still have Sam Williams who can fit that mold, and then
Mhm.
you have Villalami Fahoko Jr.
Mhm.
He really didn't get much snaps, but he's looking to fit that mold as well. So I really didn't like look towards that and be too much of a signing the alarm. So I just went after some things that I think they needed, and I definitely assured the offensive tackle. I assured the linebacker room. I'm about to address more into the running back room, and maybe
Yep.
in the later rounds do a defensive tackle in the interior because I see that Hankins signed with the Seahawks and Mozzie is on injured reserve.
That's I was about to go there. I think with your next pick in the fifth round, I think you really should look at the interior defensive line. I haven't seen much of Mozzie Smith. What I've seen, it hasn't wowed me. So I will look at Jordan Jefferson.
Yes,
Interior,
LSU.
yeah, right. And all you guys, like I said, man, you got Michael Parsons, you got some other good players. All you need is some guys that are go in there and do their jobs. And I think this guy, Jordan Jefferson, can definitely do a job right up the middle.
Oh yeah, for sure. He can definitely take up two blockers as well, and being able to. I even forgot that we have Osa being a three tech. We definitely need a guy that can be a traditional one tech. Mozzie was supposed to be that till Dr. Honeydew decided to have this man lose 40 pounds
Dr.
for some
Honeydew. I
for some
can't.
reason, and it
Earl
just
now.
really
Come on. Come on. He's gone. Leave my guy alone.
is what it is. I got more coming up,
I bet you
so
do.
yeah, I do. But Mozzie was that plan to be able to learn under Hankins, but you didn't re-sign Hankins, and now Mozzie has surgery, and you just have that gap that needs to be filled. Now, if they don't address it in the draft itself, they're going to lean towards other teams after the draft when they do their release, where they could pick up a guy, especially an interior defensive lineman. So I'm not sweating it too much. I think around the time of the trade deadline, then I would be signing the alarms. But right now, I think I'm cool with what they have right now, and just got to see how the blocks are placed after that. But Jordan Jefferson is definitely a solid pick that I could see Dallas getting, and it would be another LSU player that Dallas would select in the draft. And I would see him being almost to the alignment of Marcus Spears back in the day. So
I
my
think I think it's another solid selection, man. Good job.
thanks. I'm really liking y'all draft picks so far. It's very, very awesome that some were on the same page and then other guys I didn't mention. So that's awesome. I'm liking this. The next pick that I have, and this is around maybe the sixth round, at with the 216th pick, I double dipped at running back, and Dallas Cowboys select Isaac Guerrero, running back from Louisville. When I was looking at this guy's tape, I got some leaked information of just how this guy runs. This guy has some track speed to the point where he ran a 4.33 in the combine. He has the same build as Jonathan Taylor, who plays with the Colts. He actually ran with him. And being able to see some of the videos of that, he was going side by side with Jonathan Taylor. And I could see that being the 1-2 combo with Dallas. Even if Deuce Vaughn doesn't pan out and Rico's on a 1-year deal, I could see a combination of Garindo and Estime in the Dallas backfield being interchangeable. Both have a larger frame. One is more of a strong power guy who's elusive. Then you got a speed guy that can dish out some power. So you can do some mixed combinations with that. And that's where I was looking at with these running backs where it wasn't too an alarm if Jonathan Brooks didn't work out. It wouldn't have been too much of an alarm if Trey Benson didn't work out. There was another running back that I looked at that could have been that pick that reminded me of Alvin Kamara with the Saints, and that was Jalen Wright from Tennessee. This guy had some burners as well. He was in around the 4.4 range, could have ran a 4.3. Has almost the same body type. This guy's interchangeable. He's lightning quick, but he also dishes out the power. Like there's a lot of running backs in this draft that I can look at and see if you don't get them in the early part, maybe around the fifth round, sixth round, you can still get a guy. And Kendrick Milton from Georgia, he's another guy, 6'1", 220. People are fascinated by his body frame, especially with how he runs and how he utilizes power. I'm looking at seeing what Dallas was lacking last season, maybe the last 4 seasons. And I believe being able to address this with these two running backs would really help out Dallas and be able to get back to running the football, in which I've been really just hoping Dallas can do. They need running backs that can do that, as well as having size to go along with that. I think it'll really help Dak Prescott on his final year of his contract and also with the offense moving forward.
I always think there's good value getting a running back in the later rounds. So yet again,
Yeah,
good
for
job.
sure. I like that pick too, Earl.
Thanks. The next pick I have, and this was a trade with the Raiders back when we traded for Jonathan Hankins. With the 233rd pick, the Dallas Cowboys select Justin Rogers, defensive tackle from Auburn. He was second defensive tackle within the SEC that I was looking into besides Jordan Jefferson. I know there was another guy from Florida State, Brandon Fisk. He was another guy that I could see that with his body frame and just how he played, he was NFL ready. I can actually see this with Justin Rogers being able to be a interchangeable piece at defensive tackle, where I could see Chauncey Golston getting reps because he's been playing behind Dante Fowler. He was playing behind uh, what's his name? Dorrance Armstrong. He was playing behind those guys, and I'm actually finally get a chance to see Chauncey Golston play. Being able to plug Justin Rogers into that would actually help out the defensive front as well. And being able to just shore up what could potentially be the Dallas defense of a 4-3 with the linebackers that had Dallas selecting in the mock draft. I could see them shifting to a 3-4, which I could see Mike Zimmer doing because he did that before. And that's when he had Marcus Spears, Anthony Spencer, and DeMarcus Ware and Brady James. And that defense was solid as well. It actually became one of the number one defense during that time when Parcells was the coach. So I can just see Dallas assuring with the young guys being able to address each spot, because if they're trying to build a Super Bowl team in the draft, one, you got to get as many picks as you can, as well as looking at undrafted free agents because you don't want to spend money at free agency. get guys that can interchange and be that focal point for the defense, and just let Mike Zimmer run what he needs to. He brought in new coaches, and I'm just excited to see what direction they go with that because I definitely know defensive tackle is a surefire need, especially with the injuries and then the free agency moves where they really need to fill up those gaps.
Well, I'll say this: I'm gonna bundle up. I'm gonna bundle up this guy with both your 7th round picks. I think at some point you do need to add to your receiver room. You mentioned Brandon Cooks uh, has 1 year left. I don't know if you noticed about this guy. I'm gonna mention Hayden Hatton. Um, he's people. A lot of people might not know about him, but he's a receiver that can play a little bit of inside, a little bit of outside, and I don't want to put this on him, but he kind of reminds me of Puka Nakua. Um, his
Okay.
his his
Uh,
game
which
is
which college did he play at?
uh, I'm trying to think of it off the top of my head. Uh, Idaho.
Idaho.
Yeah, I had to Google it real
I
quick.
actually, I think I've heard of him.
Yeah,
Yeah, I could. Yeah,
he's a
I could.
receiver that plays inside outside. He reminds me of Puka Nakua. Listen, when the Rams drafted him in the 5th round, that was kind of like a 1 in a million type thing. I don't want to
Yeah,
put that on him, but he's a speed receiver. You guys are going to need speed next to CD. I know Cooks gives you that, but he only has 1 year left. It's just somebody just to keep an eye on. Just keep an eye on. That's all I'm saying.
will do. I appreciate it. Like I'm looking for Dallas to shore up the receiver room, especially with speed and just seeing how things are like interchanging in the league. You definitely need that big body receiver, but you need a receiver that can move. Now, if this guy is that you say that can move, and do you know his height by any chance?
Oh, 6'2",
6'2"? Okay,
210.
that's perfect. That's perfect. That's close to CD's range. But if you can get a guy that's a little bigger than that, that would work as well because you also have that guy that can do the jump ball situations at the goal line. And I just think that's really needed in Dallas. They like their receivers, they like the large receivers, but they also like the guys that are really good possession receivers as well as can move. And CD, he's interchangeable, but you need that other guy that can do that as well. Still be able to be a threat and seeing who you're gonna have to cover. You got to pick your poison. And I could see him being a guy in the late round to definitely pick. I could I could see Keon Coleman. Like his name hasn't been like popped up with most of the other receivers, but if Dallas were to pull the trigger early and get one of those guys, I think it would be Keon Coleman because I found out that Keon Coleman and CeeDee Lamb are cousins. And I think that'd be a cool thing with cousins playing on the same team. So, but yeah, I like that pick, Maurice. And that brings me to my final pick of the NFL draft for the Dallas Cowboys. And this one was a pick that I thought about and I was like, man, this is, I didn't think I would have to go through with it, but I kind of did. Where I think with Dak Prescott and his extension, I don't think it's happening, but they might be sending a smoke and mirror move where it's a bit of wee woo when them stating that they've come to an agreement on it. I've been hearing so much from Stephen Jones. I've been hearing stuff from Jerry Jones, but I haven't heard from Dak Prescott nor his agent. But I also know with how things are rolling, I don't think he's going to be resigned. So that brings me to my final pick that Dallas Cowboys, with the 204th pick, they draft Jordan Travis from Florida State. Now I
Let's
understand.
go.
Now
Okay.
I understand that his injury history. I like Dallas medical team, and I think if they are able to get Travis in, I think they will monitor him and get him where he needs to be. Because I really like Jordan Travis out of Florida State. Like this past season, he was leaning towards a Heisman Trophy in what he was doing before that lower leg injury. And by the way, that was a hip tackle that ended his season.
We getting
And
there. We're getting there. We're getting there.
I know. I need to put that in there. Jordan Travis, he has kind of those tendencies like maybe a Russell Wilson, but he has an arm and he can move around. One thing that I liked about him first when he got to Florida State was that he was still going through his growing pains, but Coach Norvell really groomed him to be that prototypical quarterback that can play in the NFL. Season by season, I saw his progression grow, and I really think he was ascending towards that into his final season. With his numbers this past season, he had 63.9 completion percentage. He had 2,756 passing yards as well as 27 touchdowns. Like he was at a solid pace, and I really think if he didn't get hurt and they went on to go to the college football playoff, I could definitely see him winning the Heisman. But I could actually see Jordan Travis playing with the star on his helmet, being that successor after Dak Prescott. I hate to see Dak. If this happens, I hate to see Dak Prescott will go, but I would want him to go to a team that appreciate him for what he accomplished. So I think with this pick, if Dallas is looking to fully just blow up the team or just move on from Dak while still keeping the key players, I think Jordan Travis will be in the mix, but it also depends on what they do with Trey Lance. But I like this last pick to be a quarterback, to be on the assurance side, and I really think it's high upside if Jordan Travis can fully recover.
I'm honestly not sure if he lasts that long, but if he does, that would be a steal of a pick.
Yes.
Yeah, if you last that long, that's a steal.
Yeah, I was actually thinking, and this might make Mal happy. I was actually thinking of Notre Dame's quarterback. I can't remember his name, but I know that he's pretty boy.
Yeah, that's football Jesus.
I don't know if I can call him that. But
Yeah, I can't call him that neither. I'll take your word for him, Al.
But I call him football's pretty boy, which seems like an appropriate place for him to go as Dallas, just because I don't know. It just
I don't
feels
know
like
if he can. I don't know if he can handle it. But the second quarterback I did have at that 244th pick, Tua's little brother.
Ooh, the guy from Maryland. Okay,
I like that.
Yep.
that would be more of an appropriate 7th round pick.
That was actually my other mock draft pick.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah,
All
that's
right.
my draft. What did y'all think overall?
I think
Great
you
job,
did a good
Earl.
job. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you did good. So now we are going to briefly touch on some other stuff here. We don't have any team news. We have league news, and I'm going to let Maurice take that away.
All right, so owners, coaches all came together in Orlando, and the competition committee made some new rule changes, and there's about three major rule changes, notable rule changes, and the one I think is the most controversial, and Earl just talked about it, was the hip drop tackle. And before I'm just gonna say this. I'm an old school football fan. I like old school football. Now,
Me too.
does football have to evolve? Of course it does. But does the quality have to does the quality have to dip? And does the quality of the game get worse? No, it shouldn't. And I for Earl's case and Mal's case, there's been moments where a certain player got hurt from a hip drop tackle. So it's fresh in their memories. But when we put everything in totality, I think this is going to be bad for football. More importantly, bad for defenses. Because at the end of the day, what does the defender have to do to make a tackle? They already can't tackle the quarterback. You can't go high, obviously for concussion reasons. That's fair. You can't go low on the quarterback, you know, because of the whole Tom Brady thing. You can't go below their knees. And you can't go into their body and drop them with your weight. That's a penalty. So when we talk about the defenders and the hip drop tackle on receivers, running backs, and tight ends, I think it's like a natural defender tackle. And how are you going to outlaw that in the game?
Well, let me ask this: when they say hip drop tackle, so if I grab somebody around the waist, is that going to be considered
From
a
behind, yes.
from behind?
Basically, the injury
So
that happened
so
to
you're
Mark
only
Andrews.
able to tackle them. So my understanding is, so let me make sure this is clear for everybody. So the new rule states that you can only tackle them from like the chest area now from behind. Is that correct?
Give me a second. Hold on. I think I got.
Well, I mean, you can't trip them. I
You can't go for the legs. You can't go for the waist. You can't go. You obviously horse collar is out of the question.
yeah.
So and horse collar being out of the question makes total sense.
Yeah, the
Right.
horse collar tackle, that was banned a long time ago. That was actually Roy Williams.
Yeah.
That was the most
On
notable
Terrell
one.
Owens.
On
Yep.
Terrell Owens, yeah.
Yeah. And look, like I get it. I you know what, I'm kind of in the same vein as Maurice. Now I understand that there's injuries, but guys, football is one of the most violent sports in the world. Of course there's
Yeah,
going
it
to be
is.
injuries.
Yep.
And you can't
You
really
can't
prevent them.
legislate it all out without getting rid of the physical aspect and honestly the fun aspect of football.
Yeah, and also look at all the non-contact injuries that happen.
I mean, yeah, Aaron Rodgers, Achilles.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
non-contact Achilles.
Like so, and I get that there have been like Mark Andrews this past season, Tony Pollard a few years ago, but in my opinion is like if you legislate too much out, and I get that the NFL wants to make the offense a little bit more proficient, but honestly, in my opinion, I feel like the offense already has a lot of advantages,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
and
can. Go ahead.
I don't know, like how are you going to help the defense? Like how is the defense supposed to adjust?
The one thing I could tell you with that, and trust me, I think it sucks that a lot of the defense is getting the raw end of the deal with everything, especially with the ruling. But there is a way that you can bypass it all, and it's just textbook tackling. Like, there's certain things that I was taught where I never did a hip drop tackle, and trying to make sure I explain it. When you wrap yourself and then you drop your hip to bring them down, to shift the weight, that can put a lot of pressure on a player and that can jack them up pretty badly. We've seen it happen. There's ways that you can tackle. That means you gotta not be half tackling, but to be able to go through a full tackle, which means you gotta dig deep to bring the guy down, but you got to do it the right way. Because when you do a hip drop, it kind of not fully take within a tackle, but when you engage in the tackle, you hit them. You can still tackle them by the waist, but you got to drive. You got to take them down in a way without it shifting your weight or doing a horse collar. Now, I wish I had more of like a videotape on explaining it where I can show you a certain way to tackle, but the coaches keep.
Not in the budget yet, Earl. Not in the
I
budget
know,
yet.
I know, I know. This is later. But there's ways to bypass it, and it's sometimes you gotta utilize your shoulders and not try to shift all your weight to do it. Like Aiden Hutchinson, he's a phenomenal football player. During the Monday night game against Dallas, I saw him do it twice. It was one play where Tyron Smith got beat, did a hip drop, and Dallas pretty much everybody's heart skipped a beat when that happened. It happened again, but Terrence still kept the guy, and then I think Hutchinson was trying to make sure he didn't hurt the guy when he did it. It's situations like that where you can still get two players, but being able to do that is certain ways where there's times people, when you're looking at it, can see that okay, they're literally targeting a particular spot of a player. But then there's also a time where you can do go textbook and be able to still hit the guy the right way without necessarily hurting the guy or breaking a limb. Now, with the ruling of the hip drop tackle, it's really going to seem like flag football out there. But there's ways where the coaches can teach the players on how to tackle properly. There's a way to it. Now, I understand everyone's upset by it, and it is what it is when it happens, but it also protects the player. Now, for me, I feel like you ban the hip drop tackle due to injury state, but as Mal put it, they ignore the turf situation of injury
Literally.
non-contact stats.
Yeah.
So it's hand in hand in what you want to do, but at the same time, it's also to protect the players. It's gonna be very weird, but I think after a full season, being able to see what's going on, I won't be able to make that judgment till I see it in real time. But there's ways you can tackle. I just think the hip drop is one that was really bad. Same with the horse collar.
All right, guys, we got to keep it moving.
Yeah.
So let's go to Maurice. What else has changed according to the league meetings?
Something that I think is more egregious than the first one. It's the new kickoff rule.
Yeah, that
Oh,
looks
oi,
See,
oi.
horrendous.
I'm unpopular opinion. I kind of like it.
What?
It's
Yeah.
from the XFL.
I know
Yeah.
it's from the XFL, but it looks so weird.
I
Like
know.
maybe it will work because I have been complaining about the kickoff rules, but the aesthetics of it look bad.
I can explain what the rules are.
I get the rules, I understand it. I just don't like the way that it looks.
Yeah, it's not football. I mean, what is that? I mean,
I mean, look, it got
What is
Patrick
that?
Patterson a new
What
deal
is
with
that?
the Steelers, like immediately after news broke. So, like, clearly they're expecting more kickoffs again. So we'll see how that goes. But look,
what are these
I
guys
just
But
doing?
think
there's
it's
a
kind of
way
weird
that
that
you
they're
can
like 10,
bypass
like
it
what
though
is it,
on
5
the
or 10
kickoff.
yards apart, and then they
Let's
can't start
see.
blocking each other until the guy catches the ball, and
Yeah,
the kicker's still all the way back there. That's
Yep.
just that is a weird
It's
aesthetic.
all players on the receiving team. The setup zone cannot move until the kick has hit the ground or player landing in the landing or end zone. Any kick that hits the landing zone must be returned. Any kick that hits before the landing zone is a touchback to the 40. That's incredible yardage. If a
40?
kick 40,
Wow.
yes. If the kick hits the landing zone and rolls into the end zone, it is down. It's a touchback to the 20. If a kick lands in the end zone or goes out the back, it's a touchback ball to the 35-yard line. Oh, I forgot one. The kicking team on the other than the kicker cannot move until the ball hits the ground or the player in the landing zone or the end zone.
the whole purpose of that was to reduce impact.
And I get it,
Because
it's a concussion thing, but it's just weird. It's
and
weird. I'm sure we'll be okay with it in like 2 or 3 years, but right now it's just weird.
It's gonna feel like flag football, aka
Yeah, we're
backyard
just gonna have to get
games.
used to it.
Yeah.
I'm cool. Look, I'm cool with it because there's ways you can manipulate it. I've seen it in the XFL. It's possible. You just got to get yourself a dynamic return guy and have him show the moves. And then next thing you know, you'll have moves like Jagger. And
Wow.
yeah,
I
I'm
can't
sorry.
believe you just said that.
Look, I'm trying to make look. I got y'all laughing. I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it because this stuff is egregious. But at the same
actually,
time, it's
what's
protecting the
crazy
players.
what's crazy about that is I think it eliminates a position. I think it
Mm-hmm.
eliminates the kick returner because you can have a running back do that.
Yep.
Well, I mean,
100%.
Patrick Patterson just got a 2-year deal with the Steelers, and he's not really anything if he's not returning kicks. So I don't think it gets rid of him. Actually, if anything, I think this saves the position.
All right, we will see. We will see.
But it'll definitely have you put your dynamic return guy back there. And if things go according, like I honestly saw, I really think they started changing this as well as injuries, but certain players that was like a cheat code when it happened. And Turpin, one preseason, he took back a kickoff return and then a punt return, and they were like, "Do not kick to this man." So I know that they're basically doing things to protect the game, but it's also to hinder certain things of it. But it also makes it fun to see it, but you can have design plays about it. So I mean, it's
All
what we can't change. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
right.
Well, I was about to say, let's get to the last one here.
So real quick, one more, but the committee also pushed back the trade deadline 1 week.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
word?
Yeah.
yeah.
It's week 9 now.
Wow.
Okay, that's pretty
Okay,
late.
then there's no excuses for teams not to fulfill the trade.
Yep.
Okay. All
Right.
right.
All
And
right.
NFL also announced that there will now be 2 Christmas Day games. And this year, the Christmas Day game lands on a Wednesday. So the teams who participate in the Christmas Day game will play Saturday the week before.
Interesting.
Ooh, so they
See, now this one, I don't know how I feel about. That's not enough rest for those guys.
Well,
yeah.
they're thinking about it as a Sunday to Thursday game. You know how like teams have turnarounds like that. That's essentially the same amount of turnaround.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's like a
guess.
Thanksgiving Day game.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right,
So
that's fair. I didn't
yeah,
think of it like that.
I
But
don't mind having Christmas Day, but as a basketball person, I'm still watching
Yeah.
basketball.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
the
I'm
NBA is not gonna be a fan of that.
No, the NBA is probably not thrilled about that at all, but the NFL doesn't care. They need to keep their
Yeah, they
fans
don't care.
interested.
they might take it personally, but I mean, if you're seeing basketball and it's not filling out, you can always kick to the
Earl,
football game.
Earl, Earl. When you said they might take it personally, I thought of that meme where Michael Jordan was like, "And I took it as a personal offense."
Well,
Hey, he was
I
talking about
mean,
his last dance, so
Yes,
NF
sir.
the NFL is king when it comes to sports ratings, but basketball, Christmas Day is really basketball.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
you're absolutely right. Like I
yeah.
think it kind of meddles with their tradition, and that's almost as saying like if the NBA decided to have games on Thanksgiving,
I mean,
where
to
we
be
know that's
fair, the
football.
NBA does have the in-season tournament now, so I think
Yeah,
all bets are off. Anyway, moving on. We got to keep on moving, guys. Maurice, can you talk about the mailbag or lack thereof from your Eagles fans?
Yeah, Eagles fans, we got to go in the ball here, Eagles fans.
Eagles fans, where you at? You're
Where
where
always
you
you
yelling
at?
at
"Go
though?
Birds." I know you're
Where you
around.
at?
Go
Where you at though?
Birds!
Go
Fly, Eagles,
Birds.
fly.
Yeah,
Ain't
we
that
got
your
yeah.
motto?
Well, Eagles fans, y'all gotta get in the air. Y'all gotta do something
Fly,
because
fly,
we had it.
fly,
We had it.
Fly,
fly.
Eagles,
We
fly.
posted.
Caw. I'm sorry.
Here
I'm
we
sorry. I'm
go.
sorry. I'm sorry.
You see how it is, Eagles fans. You guys gotta show up. So we posted a mailbag. Nobody responded. So we will try again, right, Lucas?
Yeah. Well, Eagles fans, you gotta wait your turn because next time I believe we'll have a different team. But we'll get back to you guys eventually. But next time around, step it up, Eagles fans.
Yeah.
That being said, I think it's time for Earl's segment.
Who's that football player? Deanie. This football player back in the 2011 season had 76 receptions, 1,192 yards, and 7 touchdowns. And he also played with the New York Giants. Do y'all know who it is?
I know who
I
it
mean,
is.
Who is it, Mal?
It's Akeem Nicks.
Let's go. Let's
let's
go.
go.
Yes.
Hakeem Nicks was a football player that I followed at North Carolina, and just seeing his progression, I was disgusted when the Giants picked him up, but I also knew that they were getting a solid receiver in Hakeem Nicks. He had 88, and 88 is a very solid and sacred number to me, but it was on the ops side. But Hakeem Nicks was a phenomenal football player, and being able to see him play and be able to fulfill his dream, that meant a lot to me. And Hakeem Nicks, he's definitely one of my favorite receivers, especially in the division as a whole, but as a player in North Carolina. What do y'all think?
Yeah,
I
so
so
go
go
ahead,
ahead,
Lucas. You
Martha.
go first. You go
No.
first.
He's your team. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I don't know. As you guys can tell, my wide receiver room has been so horribly underwhelming since Odell Beckham Jr. left. And I just want to say I miss Hakeem Nicks. He was such a big part of our Super Bowl championship. I miss his speed. I miss the way that he got open. I miss the plays he made. I miss everything about him. And I grew up on Hakeem Nicks. So I'm really glad you chose this player. because he's one of my all-time favorites.
I respect it, and glad you like the who's that player.
Yeah.
He had that build at receiver that was almost to a combination of Des Bryant and Anquan Bolden, and just with his ability, he was a big receiver, but he was also a physical receiver that had speed, and maybe that's a receiver that the Giants might need to look into in the upcoming draft to be able to replicate something like that. Maybe do a combination with Jalen Hyatt and pair him up with a big receiver, almost to like a
Honestly,
combination of Nixon and Cruz.
final thought that I'll finish on with that. If we don't move on from Daniel Jones soon, free Jalen Hyatt. That he deserves more. Just saying.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'll
Okay.
just say this about Hakeem Nicks. I liked him coming out of college. I thought he was going to be a superstar. He was a really good player for. Honestly, I don't know what happened because he kind of fizzled out in his prime because he stopped playing when he was 27. It just felt like it was too soon. And I thought he could have been a superstar based off of his build and speed, but I honestly thought sometimes the Giants underutilized him.
He retired at 27.
Well, I don't know if he retired, but he stopped playing at 27.
Wow.
He was with the Colts at one point after the Giants.
Yeah, and then he
Yeah, he
returned to the
was.
Giants for his last season. But at that point, he was like a shell of his former self. Matt, did he get injured or something? Like, what happened there?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what exactly happened there. I knew we were all kind of shocked when he kind of left football. So I'm not really entirely sure. I would
Yeah,
have
he's
to
like
look more into
36.
it.
He's like
Yeah,
36
he's
now.
still young. Like, he's still young. And when he retired, he was my age. And I'm only 27. So I was honestly shocked when that happened.
Yeah, I think he had a lot more years in him. It was just maybe with how things were going with the organization and just where he was at one point, it just fizzled out. Like with him and Victor Cruz, that was a nice receiver duo y'all had at New York. And yeah, it had its high. It was just I don't know. Maybe some people just maybe it just fizzled out, just the
So,
drive and stuff.
yeah, after looking into it a little bit, he had a few injuries and
Mm.
he bounced around the league because he went from the Giants to the Colts to the Saints to back to the Giants, and I think he just figured he was done.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just end early because of injuries. But, Mal, let's go ahead and move on to the poll question of the week.
Yeah, so this week we had a Commanders poll question, and we had the question of should the Washington Commanders trade for another first round pick in this upcoming draft? And guys, I will tell you, Facebook and Twitter, or X, were very on the opposite sides of the spectrum. Twitter said yes, but it was close. It was 56% yes to 44% no. Whereas Facebook didn't want that to happen at all. They want the Commanders to build depth. And I will say, my point of view is I think the Commanders should trade back up into the first.
I agree.
You guys have a lot of draft capital. There are plenty of players in that first round that I think you guys can benefit from, especially in the rebuild. So
Yep.
I'm on the X side. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, no, I certainly believe that they should trade back into the first round, get a left tackle, get that. Actually, Earl's first round pick was honestly a guy that I was looking at for left tackle as well, if I'm being completely honest. So that's I agree. I don't agree with most of the people on Facebook. I tried Facebook listeners. I hope that you guys thought that I was being civil. I was the one responding, but I honestly think that we should get another one. That being said, we're gonna close this out with a trivia question. Now, this was a Cowboys trivia question, and it was who is second all-time in Cowboys franchise record and franchise history in total interceptions? Earl, do you know the answer?
Yes, sir. It was Everson Walls.
It was Everson Walls. Yeah, solid guy. He played in the '80s, if I'm correct, right, Earl?
Yes.
Yeah. And you know what? I thought it was a good question. It was a good one. We did get a little bit of interaction, but Cowboys fans, I need to hear your voices a little bit more.
Cowboy Nation, speak up. I know we're feeling everything with the front office, but come on in. Speak your mind. Your voice
Absolutely.
matter. But
That is absolutely true.
but yeah, with Everson Walls, he was an undersized corner. He was actually a undrafted. He actually was undrafted when Dallas picked him up, and him being able to fight to get his way on the team and definitely to get a starting spot, that was really cool on his part.
Yeah, great story. So on that note, we're going to wrap things up, and Maurice is going to go ahead and take it away.
All right, so we truly thank you all for listening to our podcast this week. You can listen to us anytime. You can also download, and you can actually watch us on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. And like I said, we're on YouTube. You can listen to the whole episode on YouTube, and also clips and bloopers as well. Make sure to follow us on Twitter or X, Instagram, and Facebook at 13_rings podcast. Until next time, have a good day, everyone.
Good night, y'all.
See you.
Blessings.